The village of Oakhaven was small and isolated. The people there were wary of outsiders. They kept to themselves. The elders spoke of a place best left undisturbed. They called it the Whispering Woods. The woods bordered the village, a dark and brooding presence. Legends spoke of lost souls and strange occurrences. The villagers avoided the woods at all costs. They feared the whispers on the wind. They believed them to be the voices of the dead. Eliza was different from the villagers. She was a curious soul, drawn to the unknown. The warnings about the Whispering Woods did not frighten her. They intrigued her. She spent her days exploring the village outskirts. Eliza felt drawn to the mystery of the woods. She wanted to uncover the truth behind the whispers. One afternoon, she decided to venture into the woods. She ignored the warnings of her aunt and the other villagers. Eliza was determined to see for herself what secrets the woods held. She packed a small bag with a notebook, a compass, and a few supplies. As the sun began to set, she slipped out of her aunt's cottage and headed towards the woods. The air grew heavy as Eliza stepped into the woods. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. Shadows danced around her. A strange silence hung in the air. The whispers started subtly. They seemed to emanate from the trees themselves. She couldn't make out any words, just a low murmuring. The deeper she ventured, the denser the woods became. The trees grew close together, their branches intertwined as if trying to bar her way. Eliza felt a shiver run down her spine. Despite her initial confidence, a sense of unease began to creep over her. Eliza stumbled upon a clearing as darkness began to fall. There, in the center, stood a dilapidated cabin. It looked ancient, its wooden walls rotting, the windows boarded up. The whispers seemed to intensify around the cabin. They seemed to be drawn to it like moths to a flame. Curiosity overcoming her fear, Eliza approached cautiously. She tried the doorknob. To her surprise, it turned with a groan. The door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior. A musty smell filled the air. It was the scent of decay and long-forgotten memories. A single window, partially covered by a tattered curtain, cast a dim light into the room. Section 5. The Diary of Miriam. Eliza stepped inside. She saw a table in the center of the room. A dusty journal lay open upon it. Drawn to it, she picked it up and began to read. The diary belonged to a woman named Miriam. She had lived in the cabin a century ago. Miriam wrote of her solitude and her fear of the woods. Miriam's entries spoke of strange occurrences, of voices she heard in the wind, and shadows that moved in the night. Eliza felt a chill. These whispers were not a figment of imagination. As Eliza turned the brittle pages, she discovered a chilling entry. Miriam believed the woods were haunted by spirits seeking solace, unable to find peace. Section 6. Whispers in the Dark. Eliza continued reading. She was so engrossed in the diary that she didn't notice the shadows deepening around her. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly she heard her name. It was a low whisper, barely audible, but she was sure she heard it. "Eliza," the voice seemed to say, beckoning her. Eliza slammed the diary shut. She felt a cold dread grip her heart. She was no longer alone. Something was in the cabin with her. She stood up quickly, knocking over the chair. It clattered loudly on the wooden floor, the sound echoing through the empty cabin. Section 7. Trapped. Eliza made for the door, but it wouldn't open. It was stuck, jammed tight. Panic welled up inside her. She was trapped. The whispers were all around her now, swirling around her like a vortex. They seemed to be closing in, suffocating her. She could feel their cold presence. She pounded on the door, her heart pounding in her chest. "Help!" she cried out, but her voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence of the woods. Desperation clawed at her. The whispers seemed to mock her fear. They were closer now, colder, filled with an unspeakable sadness and longing. Section 8. A Desperate Escape. Eliza scanned the room frantically. She noticed a loose floorboard near the window. Hope surged through her. It was a long shot, but it was her only chance. She pried up the floorboard with all her might. It cracked and splintered, revealing a small space beneath. The whispers seemed to recoil as she peered into the darkness. Taking a deep breath, Eliza squeezed herself through the opening. She landed on the cold, damp ground outside. She didn't waste a moment. She scrambled to her feet and ran. Eliza didn't look back. The whispers followed her, urging her to stop, to come back, but she didn't listen. Section 9. Back to Oakhaven. Eliza burst out of the woods, gasping for breath. She stumbled into the village square, her clothes torn, her face streaked with dirt and tears. The villagers gathered around her. She tried to explain what she had seen, what she had heard, but words failed her. The experience was too terrifying, too unreal to put into words. They led her back to her aunt's cottage. Safe within its familiar walls, surrounded by the concerned faces of the villagers, Eliza felt a sliver of normalcy return. Exhausted and overwhelmed, she fell into a restless sleep, haunted by the whispers and the memory of Miriam's diary. Section 10. The Lingering Shadows. Eliza never spoke of her experience again. She remained in Oakhaven for the rest of the summer. The village and its people no longer seemed strange to her. The whispers never left her. She could still hear them in the dead of night, a constant reminder of the darkness that lay hidden beneath the surface of the world. Eliza knew she would never return to the Whispering Woods. The experience had changed her, marked her in a way she couldn't quite explain. The woods held a dark power, a truth she was no longer willing to seek.